my latest EP, Homeward, produced by Greg Ashley. It's still available to stream and purchase digitally and on cassette. Still got cassettes left. They're running out. You can find that and more of my music on iTunes, Spotify, and Bandcamp.com, not to mention on my website, mark-nelsen.com. Nelson spelled N-E-L-S-E-N. Fuck you, autocorrect. Yeah, there you can find all my solo and band music and music news.
Checking in with Mark Nelsen.
Can you hear everything? Yeah. Oh! Test. 1, 2, check.
Checking in with Mark Nelsen.
Here we are again, trying to stay afloat on the ship of life. Need some love, could always use a little bit of love. Love is good. Love is strange. Love is a 4-letter word. Love is forever appropriate, and love is more than a necessity. Love is a rose, to quote Neil Young. I am Mark Nelsen, and you are listening to Checking In Podcast. I am he, I am it. And who am I checking in today? You know, I find myself back in the Sunset District and in the home, the Warrior Monk House, the love nest, if you will, of one Jimmy Diaz. The Babyface Hotel is closed for today, and here to tell me all about love are Jimmy Diaz and Celeste Obomsawin, lead singers and co-founders of psychedelic swing rockers, The Love Dimension. Thanks for inviting me into your home, Jimmy.
Thanks for having us on the show today.
Yeah, man. Now, we've mentioned the band several times on Checking In. Here we are, finally having a recorded conversation. Now, Electric Shepherd goes way back with the Love Dimension. One of our very first shows was with you guys at the Knockout, circa 2010, I think. And that was our very first Smile Presents show, actually. Guests of mine from earlier episodes have all included current members of the band, Devin Farney, Sonny Pierce, and Kyle DeMartini, and of course past member Scott Hawkins. Still need to get Tommy Anderson on the show, the bass-playing beast that he is. The Love Dimension is so tightly intertwined with everyone and everything going on in the current San Francisco psychedelic scene. In many ways, you really are the modern answer to Jefferson Airplane, not only in lineup aesthetic and sound, but also in themes and ideals. You guys have more of a punk rock, hard rock edge. And if you couldn't figure it out or heard about it already, my bands share members with this band. And I think it's truly a spiritual thing with you guys. We're all really good friends. Strong relationships of all types have led to not only the creation of this band, but relationships have been born inside of it, through it, and beyond. So it feels good to finally be doing this, and it's my pleasure to talk with you two. So let's do this. How are you?
I'm doing well today.
Doing pretty good.
Cool. All right, Jimmy. So this is the headquarters for Warrior Monk Records, the Warrior Monk Collective. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's something to start with a couple of friends. My friends Derek Bernard from the band Haight-Ashbury and Kerry Wing from Pacific Vibrations. And we share how we actually met is through our voice teacher, who John DiRobertis, who's also a spiritual teacher, and he kind of brought us all together. And this was many years ago, before the Love Dimension even came to an existence. We met, and just over time, getting to know each other, and just thinking it'd be a cool idea to have like a musical house. Live somewhere where we could kind of have a live-work situation where we have a place to live in the city, but also can be creating music and just all doing our own thing, and then working together too to be able to put out our own music. And it's still in the beginning phases of kind of where we're still just mostly releasing what like our projects are doing, but our vision for the future is where we can get to a point where we can help out other artists and musicians like locally, and then maybe expand past that.
Let's jump right into the whole Love Dimension history. You both are originally from Boston, or the East Coast in general? No, you're from, Celeste, you're from Santa Cruz.
I'm from Santa Cruz, and I moved out to Boston in like 2003 and lived out there to like about 2007.
Okay.
And then moved out. I met Jim out there, and then we moved out to San Francisco and then started the band a couple years later.
Okay.
Or a year later?
Yeah, well, I guess the way the Love Dimension kind of came into being was like later, like late 2008. I had never fronted personally, or fronted or sang in a band. I had been for many years recording myself, and I would do vocals, but only if nobody else was was around, record it that way. And kind of I went through a weird phase where I was trying to give up music. I was trying to quit.
Oh.
I was like, I'm done with it. And I'm sure other artists and musicians have had those same thoughts sometimes, like I can't take this anymore.
Were you playing in bands before that?
Oh yeah, well in Boston, because I grew up in Massachusetts, and I did play in a lot of bands there. Started off in a lot of like punk bands, playing drums in punk bands.
Okay.
And, playing some like indie rock bands. I played bass for a while. Played a little bit of guitar, but I was mostly playing either drums or bass in bands in Boston, and I kind of always wanted to sing. So I had this trip that Celeste and I did a trip out to the Yucatan, to the Mayan Riviera, and there was this the whole time on the I was like reading this book about just different like spiritual books, and thinking like, because before I left I was like, okay, I got to start a band, I got to find a singer for this band, and there was this Mayan ritual with like a Mayan shaman. It was basically like a sweat lodge, and in the sweat lodge, like with all this like incense going and drumming and didgeridoos and like lots of sweating and heat, just kind of having visions and getting clear. And I was like, oh, wait a second, like I was like, I want to sing. Like I want to do that. I'm the one who wants to sing. I'm just like
find the singer in yourself. Say that again? I said you needed to find the singer in yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So so before that, to rewind a little bit, going back to like when I was trying to give up music, I had sold all my gear. I had like my old bass, like I really miss my Fender P bass. It was but I sold that. I had like an electronic drum set, and I sold my old Epiphone guitar. I sold all my pedals. I sold everything, and because I was really trying to like I was like I'm done with it. I don't.
What pissed you off about music at the time?
I think
where did the frustration derive from?
I think it was just
the whole thing about being in a band, or just.
Well, I wasn't in a band at the time, because I think it was just I think it's just something I had to go through, because what happened, I mean, at that same time while I was doing that, I was also studying hypnotherapy and different like types of alternative healing. Like, you know, I went to a school in the Bay Area to study shamanic healing. And what happened was really funny. In the hypnosis training, the way it would work is that there would be the instructor, the teacher would say, okay, does anybody have anything they want to work on? And then somebody would volunteer and go up, and then they would be in front of the class, and it would be kind of like a demonstration of how you would work with somebody while everybody else was kind of watching and observing. And this one, I remember this, I forget his name now, but like this one guy went up and he was doing some dream work, and in this dream was related to his dad. And it was funny because it was like his dad wanted him to work in construction, and he's like, I don't want to work in construction. It's like, I want to do music. Yeah. And I'm just like kind of watching the whole time, like watching this interaction, and like I'm just realizing, like, wait a second, that's me. That's like it's like reflecting like my like issues and what like I'm going through too. And what it felt like was like energetically, I felt like a boomerang hit me in the back of the head. It was like I tried to throw music away, and it came back. And so that was the beginning. Like that kind of started everything off. Like, you know what? I'm going to buy an acoustic guitar. I had never owned an acoustic guitar, so and maybe a few days later, I looked on Craigslist, and this is when I was living in Inner Sunset. The first guitar that popped up, and I was envisioning, for some reason, I thought, like, I kind of wanted like a black guitar, and the first thing that came up was this black Fender guitar, acoustic guitar, and I was like, oh, cool, it's In the Sunset. Yeah, that one over there.
Right over there, yeah.
Nice. And so I call up the place to like, oh yeah, you know, if you want to come look at it, like, where are you located? Like, oh, we're on 16th between Irving and Judah. I'm like, oh, I'm on 16th between Irving and Lincoln, like a block away. Okay.
Wow.
And it was funny because it was
oh man,
the house was this couple who they were moving to New York, and you know they were just like selling stuff, and they were subletting from some like spiritual teacher that was in India, like traveling around. I'm like, okay, well that makes sense. I would get the guitar from that kind of house. So yeah, you know, I started off with that. I started singing, you know, just kind of playing, and then slowly being like, well, now I kind of want an electric guitar, and so I kind of rebuilt like everything again, and at the same time, I was also doing a lot of like hand drumming, going to like either Golden Gate Park or Dolores Park, or playing with friends like drum circles, and like a realization I had later on with that was it was kind of like I feel like I was going back to basics. Yeah, it's like I had to start over, connect with like the rhythm again, and just really basic elements of music, and you know it all starts with rhythm, and so that was all good. It was like all a learning experience, and then you know eventually started writing some songs and practicing being able to sing and play guitar at the same time, which I had never done, and I had there was one night, it was probably like September 2008. Right before falling asleep, I was like about to fall asleep, and the name The Love Dimension kept going in my head. Oh, and I was like, okay, I'll remember that. And like the voice was like, no, write it down now. Wow. And I was like, okay. Like I got up, and like I wrote down the name. I went to bed, slept, and the next day I woke up and looked at it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I like the name. That makes sense. And I had been jamming with my brother and his friend Annie, just kind of working on some song ideas I had, and you know, I was kind of calling it The Love Dimension, but we were just more jamming. Yeah. And we hadn't played out or anything. And like later, I think it was like maybe December 2008, I was in the city, and I was like trying to just like, I just wanted to hang out with friends. I was trying to call everybody up, and nobody was around. I was like, this sucks. Like, you know, I want to go home. And and then this was funny. I decided to go to a karaoke night, because like I was like newly having fun with singing. I'm like, I want to go sing. So I tried to go to Mint karaoke on, I think that's on, what is that? Is that on Market Street? Yeah. And I go in there, and I signed up, and I didn't know the rules. I put in 2 songs, and then the DJ yelled at me. He's like, you can't put in 2 songs. And he was like being really mean. I was like, you know what? Screw this. I don't want to be in here. And I left, and I was like, okay, what else? You know, what else can I do here? And I remembered a friend of mine told me that a band called Sleepy Sun was playing at Ghost Town Gallery. And
the titans that they are. Yeah,
you know, and I knew nobody that was going. I had nobody to go with, and you know, I didn't really want to go by myself, but I'm like, you know what, just go. You know, you never know who you'll meet or who'll be there. I mean, even if you just go to enjoy the music and check it out. And I just wound up going, and I didn't know that part of Oakland, you know, or anything, so I was a little scared at first. Like West Oakland, hadn't really been there, and I went to the show, and I remember I was there, and then Celeste wound up being there. She was there hanging out, and I remember like seeing her there, and then like kind of watching Sleeping Sun and being blown away by Sleepy Sun.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't believe that there was like a band like that. I was like, this.
Yeah,
I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do something like this. And I remember seeing Greg Ashley there, and I had seen the Gree when I was still living in Boston. I was like, Greg Ashley's here, and seeing all these people in bands. I'm like, cool. Like this is a cool spot. And later on, I found out that a friend of mine, Sean Carney, too, who was playing the Lotus Moons, he was there, and he saw me there, and he's like, I think it was kind of more just like-minded souls, like, were kind of gathering at that moment. It was like one of those moments in the space-time continuum when people come together.
Totally.
And so I remember watching Sleepy Sun, being like, hey, okay, so they got a male and female singer. It's pretty cool. And then I like look over Celeste. I see her in the audience. I'm like, okay, wait a second here. That could be cool. And I remember talking to Celeste, like, hey, Celeste, like, you want to start a band? So let me pass the mic to Celeste too, so she can kind of give her perspective a little bit. And
I remember being in the back of the crowd and like standing on top of things so we could see Sleepy Sun, and I remember when he asked, and I was like, why didn't we think of this before? Like, we both had this like music in us, just waiting to get out, and needed the right time and people to bring it together.
They did it for me too.
Yeah, I feel like they were. I feel like Sleepy Sun were like one of the. I mean, there was a lot of bands, but I feel like they were one of the big bands that really kind of like broke open the psychedelic scene here. Yeah. I feel like the Gree were even maybe a precursor to that too.
For sure.
But Gree didn't like. They made it to a certain level, and I feel like Sleepy Sun kind of took that baton and like kind of carried it on and took it to that next level. And I mean, they really had it down. And that was another thing I noticed about that night too, is like Sleepy Sun was the only band that had visuals going.
Yeah.
And it was like a big part of it. I was like, they have the whole thing. It's like it's not just the music. It's like everything together. Yeah. And so that was a pretty amazing show. And that I think that was definitely a turning point. And so that was like December 2008, and in January, I did like an acoustic show under the name The Love Dimension with actually, it was funny. It was with now that I think of it, I didn't even make this connection before, but it was with Derek Bernard and Kerry Wing, who I do Warren Monk Records with. Oh, yeah. Okay. And it was just an acoustic thing. It was at Jack's Club in Potrero Hill. They used to have an open mic, but we just did it was probably like a Sunday night thing. There was like nobody there. It was, but it was fun. We had a good time. And I had also booked a show at El Rio for like late February, and I did not there was no band. This was, I think, before even Celeste. I asked Celeste about it, but I just booked something, thinking like, okay, I'll figure it out, it'll. And so I had no band, but then I had been recording some of the demos for the Love Dimension, like recording the drums and bass guitar and kind of just getting some ideas down, and we practiced with these two kids. It was Matt Gershon and Raphael Davis, who was the original bass player of the Love Dimension. Okay. Who he actually recently passed away earlier this year from cancer.
Yes,
and
that's right. Yeah.
So we practiced, and it sounded like we had been playing for a long time. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Just started vibing right away.
Yeah, it vibed right away. And I was like, hey guys, so we have a show in a week and a half. Do you want to play? And they're like, yeah, let's do it.
Beautiful.
So
man.
It worked out. We did the show, and it kind of took off from there. The drummer, he wound up moving away, but Raphael stuck with us, and he was in the band for a couple of years before. He started to get kind of sick, and he moved back to Cincinnati and everything. And
I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very like tough thing, because I mean it's interesting because he was 27. It's like so weird with the whole 27 thing, and it something that I kind of looking into just different things, like on the spiritual level. Again, there was something about the actual 27 thing that, like, Saturn's return, when Saturn comes around, it's right around 27 or 28. Okay. And it's like a big shift in your life, and that it's actually, there's certain exit points in one's life that you can leave the body if you want to, and 27 is actually one of those times, and it makes sense that a lot of people might leave at that age because it's like it's before you're entering into a whole new phase of your life.
Sure, yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if I mean it's hard in the physical plane to deal with these kinds of things because there's the emotions, but then when I look at from a higher perspective, I feel like Raphael, like, you know, his soul wanted to learn something, going through something like that, and it doesn't mean it's easier to deal with or for the family, you know, it doesn't like explain like, you know, why that happens, but he was, I mean, as far as I could tell, like, even though he was way younger than me, like, he was very wise. So like, I could look in his eyes and like see that like sparkle in there and that clarity, and it was really good to meet him. Like, you know, I'm feeling a little like emotional right now, just kind of like thinking about it. But yeah, he really helped, you know, launch the band, and without him, that might not have happened.
Yeah, may he rest in peace. He wrote a few songs for the band, correct?
Yeah, yes, he did. In fact, he wrote the first song that I ever sang lead for.
Oh yeah,
called "She's Gone Away."
Okay,
that was a Raphael song.
All right.
As well as the song "Can You Feel Me" too.
Oh yeah, that's one. That's
one we
still
revived
play?
recently.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right,
and we've started playing again.
That's great.
I don't know if we started playing it before he passed recently. It just happened to be around the same time period. But yeah, that was tough. It was
biggest influences in general and with the band?
I had a good friend where we had, you know, some different bands we played in, and we got really into Fugazi, and then and like Discord bands, and the Makeup was a big influence on us. And the Makeup kind of, I feel like they were one of the first bands who really kind of revived the '60s. Like, you know, there weren't a lot of other bands doing that at the time.
Never listened to them.
You should check them out. Really good stuff. And so we really liked that. We wanted to emulate that, but we couldn't. We didn't know how to play that way. So it wound up sounding more like punk rock and noisy. And then we sort of started shifting, you know, started like getting to like the mod haircuts and dressing up really nice and going out to these dance nights and you know, meeting a lot of cool people. You know, there's other, I mean, friends that I still have from those nights. And like, I feel like another musical shift I had that was a big influence was when I was introduced to Spacemen 3. Oh, yeah. Because that really like, oh, this is like just a different kind of music. It was very hypnotic. And I don't know, I just felt really connected to it. It really touched something, you know, in my like soul of just like, I really felt it. I felt the music.
What are some of yours, Celeste?
Well, I have a pretty mixed bag of influences. My parents are both musicians themselves. In fact, they met in a band and had me. I was the band baby. I would be sleeping backstage, during their shows, and but my parents did a lot of Motown and soul and blues and rock as well. But I have a lot of like blues influences. But I also really love I got into like punk rock later on, so that sometimes my punk background comes out in my singing as well.
When did the choir girl shift to punk rocker?
Teenage rebellion, which for me more happened in my early to mid 20s. Okay. But I started going to punk rock shows and stuff after growing up on classic rock and like oldies, and then switching over to getting some of that anger and angst out. Totally. It's dancing was the thing, like going out dancing to 60s music and soul nights and mod nights and stuff in Boston back when Jimmy wore all black and like red ties and stuff and had black hair.
Who are some of your favorite female singers that you've always, I guess, looked up to and tried to emulate?
I mean, the obvious, I guess, would be Grace Slick. I really do love her voice, and I've always loved that music long before I ever thought I would ever be in a band, which I never did because I was way too shy most of my life to sing in front of people. But definitely Grace Slick and people like Billie Holiday and like the classic. Like, actually, I really, really, when I was a kid, loved Natalie Cole.
Okay.
And like I would just sing along to that forever. And I actually have sung some of those songs live before now at this point. But that was also kind of a geeky, guilty pleasure of mine was Natalie Cole. And also my mother is actually my biggest influence more than anything. She has an amazing voice, and I learned from her. And
did she sing in the band she was in?
She was, her and my dad were lead singers. My dad was a guitarist, and he now plays like everything. He's one of those people. And my mom was the lead singer. She also played tambourine.
Okay.
It's a really weird full circle here,
When did Sonny, Tommy, and Devin all enter the picture? I mean, I have my own vague memory of this, but
Sure. Let's
hear you tell it.
Yeah, no, this is another funny story. So, okay, so Devin, he joined in like summer of 2011.
Yes.
And the reason he joined,
he was around a while before Sonny and Tommy entered the picture.
Yeah. So Love Dimension did a tour the same year that like Electric Shepherd did, that summer of 2011.
That's right. Yeah,
I think when did you guys go on tour? It was like
it was 2011. Yeah.
Like,
it was
do you remember?
August, September.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we were on tour in like May, and right before that, the band had fallen apart. Like Raphael wasn't in the band anymore. Sean wasn't playing.
Okay.
Who else? We had Dave Polk. He was on the drums. And I was in the middle of booking this tour. Like I had started in January. I was working. I was like, well, I'm not turning back now because I've been like working on this for months. So again, I was like, all right, I got to find a band again. And so Dave had a couple of friends. He's like, hey, well, I know a couple of guys, and we had a couple of friends, Matty D and JoJo Griffin, who wanted to play guitar and bass for that tour. It was interesting hearing. Earlier podcast, the one with Scott Hawkins.
Yes,
because it was like that's
what crossed paths
exactly
at the Powerhouse in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah, and we met Scott there, and Scott wound up moving out to the Bay Area and then being in Love Dimension for a while, and he actually helped us with the recording of the new album, recording some guitar on that. He helped out with that and did some pretty awesome guitar work. And so coming back from that tour, I was almost kind of going through a similar thing from before. I was like, okay, I'm done with this. It's like this sucks because it's like long drives and the shows were okay, but they weren't like amazing or anything. But it's like a lot of hard work, and I think I was just kind of tired and at the same time. At that same time, like right at the end of May, there was a fire at Secret Studios, and one of our rooms was one of the rooms affected by it. So then I was like, okay, this is a sign. Like our practice space is burning down. Okay, maybe I'm not supposed to do music or something. And so I calmed down.
Not the same room, is it? It's not our.
It's the same room. Yeah,
it was the same one.
It's the same room. You can see where if you look up at the ceiling, you can see a big like giant square. That's where the roof caved in.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
How has nobody told me this?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was. I think it was actually 2 Gallant's practice space that burned down. Oh, wow. Yeah, because they were in the space next door. I mean, we were lucky that we didn't really lose like too much gear or anything. Nothing that bad happened, but we didn't have a practice space for like about a month. And so at that same time, coming back from the tour, the band that was on tour, it was just a tour band, and everybody's like, well, like people are moving away and things happen. So again, had no band and. Celeste was like in the band this whole time, though. She's been a consistent member since the beginning.
Of course. Yeah.
And I did kind of the blue. Jesse from Buzzmutt contacted me.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, hey, if you need a drummer, and I'm like, actually, I do.
That's right. I remember. Devin told me this part of the story. I remember now. Yeah.
And so he joined for a few shows. And when he came and played, he noticed that we had a Vox Jaguar. Like keyboard, it's like it's kind of like the Vox Continental that was used in the Doors, and he saw that. He's like, who plays that? And I'm like, it's mine. I don't really play it, but he's like, I have a friend He's really good on keys. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. He's like, yeah, invite him along. And he brought Devin, and it like again, it just kind of like clicked right away. And Devin was a great fit. So it was very Doorsy at the time, and I kind of liked it. It was like Doorsy, but then Devin also had the Moog, so it kind of had like a synthy feel to it a little bit. And
which he still rocks today.
Yeah, so you know, Jesse played for a few shows, and then he wound up leaving. I mean, I understood because I mean, Buzzmutt was his like main thing, and he had other projects. He was playing in Siddhartha and other groups. So he left the band, and I kind of like, okay, you know, I'm kind of sick of this because this kept happening where. Up until that point, like the band members kept changing like a ridiculous amount. Like I felt like it was like Brian Jonestown Massacre or something with the amount of members. I think I counted as about like 13 or 14 different drummers that we went through, and
no fucking way.
I guess guitar players. And
how do you go through 13 different drummers?
I don't know how that happened
in that short time.
I don't know how that happened. But
13 drummers.
So
were you one of them?
I did play one.
Singing.
Yes, yeah, I did. I did play. I did.
Really?
It was 2 shows. There's one in Santa Cruz and one at the Stork Club in Oakland. Where this is when it was between drummers. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to play drums and sing. And then I mean, Celeste was like kind of helping out too, kind of like stepping up and do more lead stuff. Like, and I was still doing some vocals, but it was definitely not my ideal situation. Like with the drummer thing though, because like how Sonny joined was really like interesting, kind of synchronicity too, where. After Jesse, you know, like left, I was like, okay, you know, I got to get serious, and I was really frustrated. I was like, I don't know why this keeps happening to me because I mean, just from doing my healing work, I realized that anything that situation or anything that circumstance that comes to your life is a reflection of what's going on internally. So I knew on some level I was attracting this and creating it, like creating that reality. I'm like, why, you know, I don't know why I would create this, why I would keep causing this, but I knew some level there's some sort of vibration or energy or pattern in me that was doing that. And so I was doing a trade with a friend who kind of studied at the same school for like the shamanic healing, and I think she's living in Texas, and so we were just doing a remote session like through Skype, and I told her the situation, like, you know, this keeps happening. Like the drummers keep quitting, and I don't know what's going on. And you know, we did a healing session. I wound up doing like a past life regression, going to a past life, and kind of like healing that. And afterwards, I felt really good. I felt really clear, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna get really, really specific of what I want in it, like a drummer. And like, you know, I wrote up this whole Craigslist ad of what I wanted. You know, somebody was serious, has transportation, and is like likes this kind of music. You know, wants to tour, and like I was thinking, you know, I might as well ask for exactly what I want. And the next day, it was an email from Sonny. And I guess it was again an interesting time because I think Electric Shepherd were a little bit on a break at that time, and so again, you know, we did a jam with it was like, and we didn't have a bass player or any other band members or anything, or wait, I think Devin was in the band, but he was like, he wasn't around or something, he wasn't able to play. So Celeste, Sonny and I jammed as a 3-piece, and it like sounded really good. It was like, and again we had a show booked like a week later at the Uptown. It was like a first Friday thing at the Uptown. And Celeste and I were just going to do like a duo for the show and just kind of maybe play acoustic or something. But then with Sonny, we're like, well, let's just do the 3-piece and see how that sounds.
Crazy.
Yeah, and we wound up doing a show, and it sounded really good. It was like pretty rocking. And
I wasn't at those first shows.
Yeah,
and that would have been cool to see you guys as a trio.
It was
just
pretty
raw,
cool.
like one guitar, drums, and 2 vocals.
I thought it sounded really cool, and I just remember how excited Jimmy was to have found Sonny too. I remember he's like, "Oh, I practiced with this dude the other day, and it sounded like we'd been playing together forever." And he's like, "We can play this show," and we did, and it sounded really good.
Awesome.
It was fun. Even just the 3 of us, there was still a lot of sound.
Yeah,
and people liked it.
And so you know, with Sonny joined the band, he's like, "Well, hey, I know a bass player." So he brought in Tommy, and you know, Tommy,
who's also a refugee from this other band.
yeah, and so
I don't go anywhere without him.
At least
that's how he told it to me.
we wound up playing some shows that way, and it sounded pretty good. And then Scott wound up joining because I think it's the 3 of us played a show together. You played too, right? It was you, Scott, and myself. Like
the Revolution Cafe thing?
Yeah, Scott asked me, hey man, I'm going to come out to California. I'd like to set up a show. I'm like, sure, you know, and I think he requested you, or we thought it'd be a good fit because
Yeah.
like we had all played at the power. Was it the Powerhouse, right?
Yes. And Scott at that point was inspired to start getting prepared to move out here.
Yeah, he was, I think,
yeah.
already thinking about it, and his uncle already lived out here. So so Scott moved out, and so we kind of had him join the band for a little while and play guitar. And
You guys have how many records out? 3, if I'm not mistaken?
3 records. One
3. Okay.
one unreleased.
3 full lengths. And the last record was Forget the Remember. And
Yes.
now we're leading up to Create and Consume. There's been this sort of odyssey in getting it released.
yeah, we started the recording process in summer of 2012, and we recorded most of the basic stuff at Expression College,
Okay.
which was really helpful that to have that recording time there, because we didn't really have the money to go into a recording studio and record it another way. So
Oh, yeah, the expression sessions.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that helped us out a lot, and we had been recording for a year, and when we had like some just things that kept delaying, like we were recording on analog tape, and the tape got erased, so we had to like redo a bunch of stuff. And then when we brought it for the mixing, like we were mixing with Jason Kick from Mouse House.
Yes.
And what happened there was we got close to getting done, and the hard drive crashed.
Yeah.
and
I remember.
So then we were like, okay, now what? And so that kind of delayed it some more. And fortunately, Jason was able to send it out to a hard drive recovery company, and he did get most of it back. There was some stuff that was lost, but it wasn't too bad. And yeah, so it just took a while to get it done, and got
God.
mastered, and then we took some time and maybe shop it around a little bit, see if we could get some help putting it on a label, and nothing really kind of came together with that. So we just finally decided just to put it out ourselves, and that's what we're working on now. And we have that record release show coming up on September 4th at the Chapel. So finally we'll be able to move on to the next thing after kind of just a long couple of years of working on this.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to hearing the whole thing just start to finish.
And
master, just complete. Like that's upon us. So.
That's the way I would like for people to listen to the album, is listen to it all the way through, because it was specifically put in a certain order to kind of create a journey and an experience. It's definitely not just like here's a bunch of singles and just like listen to whatever track you want.
Yeah.
To get the full experience, it's definitely best to listen to the whole thing. And I think by listening to the whole album in one sitting, whether it's like with headphones or however where you can actually listen to it and focus on it, I think it's gonna really just kind of create an experience for the listener.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to see how people respond to it and what they think of it. And it's definitely our best recording so far.
So leading up to this album, you dropped a single as well as a new video, and the video complements one of the songs on the record.
That's correct.
The song's "Messenger of Love."
Yeah, and it's.
I love the video. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks, and that was also done at Expression too, where I signed up for the video class through the website, and they liked the music, and so we were part of one of the classes there, and it was a fun video to shoot. Did some stuff around the city, and then we did green screen, which was always funny, and it was a fun experience. That song's not actually on the album, but it is part of the same recording sessions. And it's definitely a good representation of the band, like in its current form.
Mm-hmm. What's the song about? I mean, what inspired the song?
I guess what would inspire the song is you just spreading the message of love, and that high vibration of unconditional love that really is the most powerful thing here in this realm.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and just even if you could go back to the '60s, like I mean, yeah, they were talking about that. They were talking about love, but they were like living it too. They were, and I feel like it's happening now too. There's definitely a resurgence, and there's an awakening happening on the planet. But there's also a lot of darkness and other things happening at the same time too. That's kind of the resistance to it. And I guess that song is just about being here and helping to do our part to spread the word and help with the awakening process and helping raise the consciousness of the planet and every being here, because we can't like elevate this place unless everybody's on board. It's like if you have in your body, if you have like one cell in your body that's rebelling, it could turn into cancer. And it's like every cell has to be in harmony and working together for the whole system to be in a harmonized state. And that's what's got to happen around the globe. Is like everybody's got to step up.
Yeah, man.
It's also just a really fun song, and like the vibe comes through on the video too. We you choose not to let the darkness take over your life, and then just like choosing to be happy in the middle of like chaos and like crazy things going on and like things not happening the way you want them to. And like even with the whole recording of the album, like I went through some personal traumas at the time, family deaths and everything, and just holding on to like just not letting go, like knowing it's going to get better and not letting like all of that darkness overtake your life. And like it's not about the coincidence and what happens to you. It's what you do with it and how you live based on things going on around you. Are you going to let them take over your life and bring you down, or are you going to choose to like look at the positive aspects and what and choosing to have still, even in the midst of darkness, having fun, knowing how to have fun and love your friends and your family and all of that, And I think the video is a really good representation also of how silly we are and that we're comfortable with being silly. And I think that it's like authentic. We're not trying to be too cool. We just are who we are, and we have fun, and we've met some really amazing people and worked with really amazing people.
I am a messenger of love. I am a messenger of love. Come on and free the slave, escape from your grave. Oh yeah, you gotta believe you are an agent in change.
So I want to ask you guys about your overall impressions about the San Francisco music scene now. I mean, we're talking about the scene a lot, but you guys having lived in Boston and having done music for so long, experiencing tumultuous periods with the band and your own projects, and like you were saying earlier, Jimmy, the old rediscovering music twice in a very profound way. Like, where does the city play a role in that? What's it like here compared to Boston? And what are the pros and cons of each?
I mean, I haven't really been back to Boston too much, so I don't know what the music scene is there like now, but it's definitely different here. Like one example is like here, you'll see a lot of musicians playing in different groups, and there's like a lot of kind of helping each other out. Yeah. And I didn't notice that so much in Boston. I feel like it was like very specific bands, like The people
Yeah.
like they were in the band, and that's how it was. And maybe a band would break up and somebody would leave and join another band. But I feel like here there's a lot more of. I mean, at least this is compared to like back in the day, but it's like it feels like a pretty nice community. It's hard for me to say though because I feel like I was a lot more jaded and negative when I was living in Boston. So I feel like that might have clouded my judgment of what I might have perceived. And I feel like moving out here and just being in San Francisco opened up a lot for me to see everything in a different light. So it's hard to say. I feel like
you prefer it out here as a music
I do like it out here. I really like all the musicians I've met and played with, and especially lately. I mean, I've been noticing that the shows I've been going to. I'm noticing more of my friends there. I mean, maybe it's just getting to know people more and feeling more comfortable. But I mean, even the other night, Sonny had that birthday gathering at Grandma's, and it was cool. I was looking around, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I think Brendan from the John Ting Martyrs said something like, "This is a gathering of the psychedelic minds of San Francisco."
Yeah.
Or said something along those lines. It was just really funny.
It definitely was true.
Yeah, and I was
To
like,
an
cool.
extent.
Yeah, and I was like, this is nice. It was like it felt very cohesive and like a family. It felt like very
Definitely.
family-like, and
Feels that way.
I had a good feeling about it. And even though I know. These things come in waves. Music scenes come in waves. I really feel like that things are on an upswing here. That there's a lot of good bands that are really starting to get into their own, and I feel like there's some good years ahead of us with the psychedelic scene here.
How do you survive here as an artist, though? Like with the whole high cost of living, and do you think it's worth the good fight if there is a fight for you?
I think if you do anything in life with 100% of your heart and you just kind of focus on that and don't focus on any lack or things you don't have, that everything will work out. Things will be provided for you. The universe will provide for you as long as that's what you want, if you really want something.
Yeah.
And I think there's always a way to make it work. Like if it's someone's desire to live in San Francisco and do music or do whatever it is, like there'll be a way to find how to do that. I mean, it maybe things are definitely shifting here, and I don't know if it's going to keep changing more. I mean, it could totally all collapse. Like it could be where there's a total revolution here where people just get sick of the way things are. But the other side of it too is because of all this pressure, I think it's kind of forcing people to be even more creative and come up with even, more solutions of how to make this work. And so, yeah, I definitely would just say whatever it is that you do it with your full heart and don't worry about the details. Like, don't worry about like the little things because that's like all so meaningless, the little small things. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I have to say about that.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is hard to live here. I mean, you definitely have to, you have to really want it, Me and Sonny are living in a tiny little room in somebody's in-law unit with no living room but we're happy, we're doing what we want to do. There are sacrifices and this and that. And also, having to, working full time and being in like 2 or 3 bands like Sonny has been, and we're also doing projects with other people as well, doing guest appearances. It is hard, but it's definitely, worth it in the end.
Jimmy, you you mentioned this a little bit earlier in the show, but you are a working hypnotherapist.
That's right.
And the original idea was to get me hypnotized and talk about my experiences. That will happen on this show. I just couldn't do it today, and we already have so much content here for one episode. But yeah, so, I mean, how's that going? Like, how does that nourish your musical side, too, if it does?
It does help with the music because, any person who plays music or even sports, like, when you get in that zone, that's a hypnotic state. That's just an altered state of consciousness, and I mean, if you've done any kind of meditation or anything, then you already kind of know what being in a hypnotic state feels like. It's it's not, it's nothing. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it because of TV and movies making it like where's this pendulum swinging, and it's like really not like that. So I find it rewarding in that it helps me to just relax. I can use what I've learned to get into that state of just being one with the music, and I can the tools I've learned from the hypnosis training helps me with that, and it's also a rewarding career because you help change people's lives, and I think it's a great healing modality. Just like it's not going to fix everything, but you maybe you go to acupuncture for some things, you go to a chiropractor, and these different types of healing modalities, and hypnotherapy is really helpful in that way too. It's a complementary medicine. Like I wouldn't say like do that instead of Western medicine. It's like it all works together. It's it's like you got to look at the whole picture and the whole being to get back into balance. If you're taking some pills for something and you haven't changed your diet, maybe those pills will cover up whatever the disease is, but you also got to got to look at it's going to keep coming back, and
it's just going to grow.
Yeah, so that's why you got to look,
fix it naturally. Yeah,
you got to look at everything, and there's like a place for all of that stuff, and I've been doing healing sessions since I think it was 2007 or 2008, and it's pretty cool. Like I really like doing it, and I hope to eventually
do some here at your house, correct? Like
I do.
Some of your clients.
I do some. Yeah, I do some out of my house. I also do some in-person sessions in the Mission.
So yeah, I did. I was one of his.
Jimmy has hypnotized Celeste.
Yes.
And what was that like?
I was kind of one of those people that was a little on the fence about, like, I don't know if I could really be hypnotized. Like, I didn't believe my brain would allow me to be hypnotized. I'm one of those, like, always thinking,
Was this pre-Love Dimension?
It was, yeah. Okay. It was pre-Love Dimension when he was first getting into it. I think it was the Inner Sunset House, I remember. And I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a try. And, like, I don't know what'll happen. And it worked so well, like, I don't even know how long I was out, but I came back to at exactly the right time, and like it was a very like relaxing thing. I wasn't tense or anything, and I went into it just with an open mind.
Cool.
And it definitely it worked.
But the thing is, with that stuff too, I'm very much in integrity with it. Like that kind of stuff can be used for manipulation, and like I was watching a video the other day of a guy who used hypnosis to get out of a speeding ticket, and I thought it was pretty hilarious.
Right, yeah.
Like, and so I mean, it can be used for that kind of stuff, but I that's not the way I want to use it, because I feel like it's kind of like it's like using the Force but in the dark side instead.
Are you the only hypnotist rock frontman?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know of anybody else. Personally, I mean, Wayne Coyne he was asking, maybe he was talking to me. Are you some kind of hypnotist?
Yeah,
I
was just thinking about that. Yeah, you guys should cover that song.
I know.
Such a good song.
I don't know of anybody personally, but I'm sure there's other people who have at least studied it, because or it's again, it's like it's really not that uncommon of a thing. Like you can be in a hypnotic state reading a book or watching a movie, or there's a thing a thing called highway hypnosis, which I'm sure people have experienced, where you just lose track of time. You're like, oh, I just missed my exit. I don't know what just happened. And that's hypnosis. Like you don't lose control. It's actually just that subconscious part of you takes over, and the subconscious is also the part that controls your breathing and does a lot of the automatic processes. You don't have your conscious mind being like breathe. It just kind of happens. So it's just getting to that state where things are just happening, and you bypass that conscious mind. It's always like either in the future or the past. It's like worrying. It's like, okay, what am I going to do later? What am I going to have for dinner?
Yeah.
You just kind of get back into the moment, and by doing that, it's like if you get into a hypnotic or trance state and you're playing music, you get really into it. And the same thing with for doing a session, you help get somebody get into that state so they can explore an issue that's going on and see it more clearly from like a different perspective. It's almost like kind of like going meta, where you're like you're watching yourself, you're observing the thought patterns, and when you see what's actually happening, you're like, oh, okay, I don't even know why this was bothering me. It's just like this is not really even an issue anymore. And an analogy I like to use it's like you go into if say just like a dark room, the lights are not on, you don't know what's in there, so it might seem scarier than it might actually be in there. And all it takes is to flip on a light switch, and the light instantly dispels the darkness. And once you see what's in there, you're like, okay, this is nothing to worry about. Like now that I see it, I know it's there, and I know I know what to do to deal with it. And
That's right,
so it's I don't know. I feel like it's a good healing modality for people who are open to it and who want to try it. I just hope to keep doing it. I feel like it's a great kind of part-time gig to have while being a musician too, because it's flexible. I can do sessions. When I want, and then I can maybe still go on tour and come back and still do that work. So that's my goal, is to kind of develop these kinds of things, so I have something to help support the music, so I can just keep doing what I love. And you had mentioned earlier on the show, about the Love Dimension being like a spiritual experience. That's what I want it to be. That was the intention from the beginning. It's not just a rock band. That's one element of it, but it's also, I want it to be a spiritual experience for people, and a healing experience where they leave feeling like good and feeling like in a good space.
Totally, man. And rock and roll, is a hypnosis in of itself. So we're going to hear a live song by the Love Dimension, Celeste and Jimmy. What's the name of the song you're going to play?
So the name of the song is Sure Get a Lot, and it's on the new album.
What inspired the song?
It's the song mainly, like the main point of the song is just, again, following your heart, and just listening to that inner voice, that inner guidance.
All right.
And not getting caught up in your own mind.
All right, well, let's hear it.
I sure get a lot from listening to my heart. And when I stop, I get caught up, lost in my mind. When I'm on track and don't hold back, I open up another path, a neural path. I wanna feel alive in every moment of my life. Ask and detach, there is no catch. If you second guess, you will miss your match. I sure get a lot. I sure get a lot. I sure get a lot. I wanna feel alive in every moment of my life. Ask and detach, there is no catch. If you second guess, you will miss your match. Sure get a lot. I sure get a lot. Sure get a lot. Listen to your heart. When we wonder why we should even try, there's a line we draw. It's no surprise, there's no getting away. As we move through the maze, it connects up like waves in every single way. You're not sure what to do, and you feel so confused. Take a second to breathe, don't go blowing a fuse. And before you reply to what's right or wrong, know that we'll stand by, help you move along. Sure get lost, sure get lost, sure get lost. Listen, listen to your heart.
Well, thank you guys, Jimmy and Celeste. That was lovely. Great song. And thank you for doing the show. Thanks for talking to me.
Mark, thanks so much for having us on the show, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark. I look forward to listening to your future episodes.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Celeste. Keep carrying the psychedelic torch, and I can't wait for the new record. We'll see you find Love Machines at the Chapel September 4th. The new record by the Love Dimensions called Create and Consume, and you can pick up a copy there. Also, we'll be hearing the Trainwreck Riders, one of my favorite local bands, and Lee Gallagher and the Hallelujah. And you guys are headlining it. And yeah, be there. It's going to be a lot of fucking fun. I am Mark Nelson, and you were listening to Checking In. We hope you enjoyed your stay.
Checking in with Mark Nelson.